Right now, it is freezing cold in Hanoi, and all I want is a hot chocolate. But let's spice it up and make a chai hot chocolate. Alright, so for the ingredients for our hot chocolate, we'll need around 400 milliliters of whole milk. We'll also be using 20 grams of milk chocolate, as well as 30 grams of dark chocolate. Last but not least, some granulated sugar. With all your ingredients prepared, we'll start by infusing our milk with the chai spices. Now to a small pot, I'll be adding the milk. All that's done, I'll now turn my stove up to a medium. While we wait for our milk to steep, we'll also start prepping our spices. For our cardamom pod, we'd want to crush it and extract just the seeds. Once the cardamom pod is opened, you want to extract the seeds inside of it. As for our ginger, we cleaned and sliced them, and now we'll add it to our mortar. With that, we're gonna start crushing them to also release some of the essential oils. Alright, now that our milk is nice and hot, look at that steam, we'll start adding our spices. Don't forget our cinnamon sticks. These are kind of crucial. And we'll let this steep for around 3 to 5 minutes or until you get the desired flavor, depending on how strong you want your chai to be. Again, you want to constantly stir this, give it a lot of attention, because if you don't stir it, the milk solids may burn. If this starts to boil or simmer, you can always turn down the heat. You can already actually smell the spices right now, and it's smelling really good. Now while we wait for our milk to steep, we'll start chopping our chocolates. So 20 grams of milk chocolate, as well as a nice 30 grams of dark. Now we want to chop this pretty finely so that our chocolates can melt into the milk more evenly and more quickly. Alright, now that our milk has been nicely infused with our spices, the color has changed slightly, I'll turn off the stove and we'll have to sieve out all of these spices. So to our large bowl and any kind of sieve, I like a finer mesh because the finer mesh means that I'll also be able to render out some of the milk solids or clumps. Now all that's left to do is add your chocolates, sugar, and whisk it up to perfection. Alright, now that our pot's nice and cleaned again, we'll pour back in our milk. Now turn back on the stove to a low heat, as well as add in our chocolate. Now you'll have to do this while constantly whisking or stirring, because if you don't, the chocolate's gonna melt all on top and create this very nasty layer of oil. Of course, don't forget to add your sugar. Now once done, your chocolate should look quite velvety. Look at that, more combined and beautiful. Now with that, we can go ahead and serve up our hot chocolate. Now of course, at this stage, you can just drink it as it is, but I like to add a little bit of chocolate shavings using your leftover whatever chocolate, right? Or you can even do some shavings of spices like nutmeg or even cinnamon if you like it that way. While chai hot chocolate may sound foreign to many of you, the only complex thing here is its flavor profile. In fact, the most daunting part of this process is the constant attention the drink needs from you. To make any hot chocolate, there are two things you must pay attention to. Firstly, always chop your chocolates. By chopping up your chocolate into smaller pieces, you increase the total surface area, and this allows for more of the chocolate to be exposed to the hot milk, which then speeds up the melting process. Secondly, you must ensure that your chocolate doesn't split. When chocolate is heated, then immediately cooled, the cocoa butter may separate from the cocoa solids and float onto the surface of our drink. The result is a hot chocolate with an oily layer of fat on top. To prevent this, make sure that your milk never boils. Once it starts to simmer, lower the heat and increase only if the milk feels lukewarm. With all that said, you are now able to make any type of hot chocolate you've ever wanted. Like I've shown you, making a chai hot chocolate is easier than you think. And even though you might not have all the spices, you can always find alternatives through tea bags or concentrates. And if you don't want to have chai at all, you can always follow these steps to infuse it with other things or just make a classic, dependable hot chocolate. So hopefully you've learned a lot through this video, and if you've tried any of these recipes, let me know. If you have any other recommendations, also let me know. Cheers!